Hello, my name is Paul Schuhart, and today I would like to talk about two films. The first one being The Wrestler, and the second one being The Fountain. Now, they're both directed by Aronofsky. He only written The Fountain. He didn't write The Wrestler. Just get that out of the way. So, the first thing I would like to talk about are just keep this video simple. I'd like to talk about Aaron Aronofsky's kind of style and things that he likes to carry over in his filmography, and then talk about each individual film on their own, and then end it off talking about comparing and contrasting them. So, the first one I'd like to talk about is The Wrestler, which is actually one of my favorites. I mean, they're both really high up, but I think I might be leaning towards The Wrestler a little more. Which, if you haven't seen it, it's just about an older wrestler who is trying to kind of really get his life back in order and holding on to that faded glory that he once was. So a common theme out through Aaron Aronofsky's films is an idea of desire. And when does desire manifest itself in such a way that it becomes problematic and self-destructive? This is a very clearly seen in The Wrestler, as our protagonist, played by Mickey Rourke, is known as the Ram, constantly is just destroying not only his physical body and his mental health, but people around him as well. This is clearly seen by the use of cinematography out to the film. It's normally shot over over the shoulder, and behind him. We feel very close to him. The camera's a little shaky. There's very few wides out to the film. The only wides that we really see are when he is in the ring and when he is talking to his estranged daughter. Almost highlighting how those two parts of his life are very important to him. And something that I think is so interesting is that the first scene that we see of the Ram is we'll get a nice montage of pictures and newspaper clippings of the Ram, of when he used to be famous, and then we cut to him at what appears to be a school right after after this wrestling match that he just had, and almost indicating to the audience that he's much older. The times have changed, and he's very much past his prime. Something that's something that's very clearly established from the very first shot in the film. The lighting in the film is very dark. It's a very dark film. Very rarely are characters shot in soft lighting. A lot of it's more harsh and darker tones, which I thought was interesting. Another interesting tidbit about the film or not tidbit, about cinematography in the film, is definitely when he's in the ring. There's definitely moments that we see that it's a performance, but also it's real. He's really getting hurt. There's a part in the beginning where he hit a razor blade in his little in his gear, so he could take it out and cut himself right here, right? And so when the person that he's fighting is hitting his head on things in the ring, it will appear as if that's what's making him bleed. So the audience will get riled up. but in reality, it's self-reflected, which is another common theme out through the wrestler. This idea that he's self-destructive. He just can't seem to get right with himself. He's also fighting himself. He constantly talks about how he won't quit until the audience wants him, or his fans, I mean, wants him to quit. And but I mean, this is evident that that's not really true, because a woman that he's seeing right before the final match tells him not to go, but even his daughter wants him to stop, so they can have a better relationship, which he just can't. He refuses to. Or at least to a certain extent, he's unable to. Uh, the film ends with him doing his signature move, even after the doctors have told him that if he keeps going, that he will die. And it's a little ambiguous if he actually dies in that scene or if it will become later, but it is definitely hinted at that his self-destructive behaviors and his desire to be the greatest will destroy everything around him. The second film that I'd like to talk about is, as I mentioned earlier, The Fountain. Now, The Fountain, it's a film unlike any other. The only film that I can really think of would probably be The Holy Mountain, and even that's really just pulling straws at that comparison, to be honest. This film was very much a love letter to Aronofsky's just desire to make films, because it took him, I think, like 7, maybe 10 years for this film to be made, and it wasn't very much a commercial success. It was, I think, a box office failure when it came out, but it does have a cult following now, and for good reason. The film follows the same actors playing 3 different characters through 3 different times. One in the past during, I don't remember the exact, don't think it actually tells the year. The Spaniard time, so I think that's like maybe 14, maybe 16th century. One present time and one in the future, and so the film's kind of told through pieces and fragments, with each story overlaying information to the audience. And something that I find very interesting that is almost immediate is the cinematography. So a pattern that starts arising. There's normally a long shot, long wide, a push, close up, inserts, and what's the other one? I think it's a side shot with a side tracking shot, and it's something that's repeated out through the film, which is I thought was crazy and I mean, like, crazy awesome. It's very few times do you see a film that uses its cinematography as the device for as a motif. And we constantly get this out through this film, in like layers, and it is such a beautiful performance. And this film also holds on to that thread of desire. Hugh Jackman's characters want to save his wife who's dying of cancer, and in each 3 of the stories that's being weaved together, it's his desire to try to save her that is ultimately pushes her away, and is his downfall for the most part. And it's another very self-destructive character who is unable to realize that the suffering that he is causing his loved ones is coming from him, which I think is such a beautiful sentiment that Darren does such a great job of communicating. I think my favorite part is probably the future one, simply for just the CGI alone. and I'm not sure if he's supposed to be a monk, and I'll just say that he's a monk, and how he's meditating through space to get to a nebula that will, I think, bring back which he's trying to use to bring back his wife who's dying, and if that's even happening is, I guess, could really be up to interpretation to each individual viewer. The Spaniard is trying to find the tree of life, and the present day man is trying to find the medical cure for cancer that his wife is dying from. And in each three stories, he finds he finds an answer, but it's never the answer that he wants. In Spaniard, he finds the tree of life and consumes from it, only to discover that he becomes the garden surrounding it. That he, kind of like going back to that he reaped kind of what he sowed. The present day one is unable to save his wife in time, and she dies, and the future one is able to get to the nebula, but is unable to save the tree of life that he was bringing with him, so the tree dies. And I think the most beautiful thing that the film kind of hammers home is that he almost treats the wife that he's trying to save as an enemy to him. It's clearly established quite early in the beginning, in which she is talking to him about snow and how she wants him to come out and enjoy the first day of snow with him, and he snaps at her, and so we get a reverse shot of him sitting at a desk, of him yelling at her, saying no, that he has work to do as the future person. Cut to her, reverse shot back to him, and it's present day him, almost insinuating that the future could be an allegory for their relationship during the present. And yes, and so just to end off this video, I think there's a lot of similarities that can be drawn between the wrestler and the fountain. One, like I said earlier, which is a common theme, desire, and at what point does it become self-destructive, and at what point does it manifest itself in such a way that it destroys the thing that you're seeking. They're both really about love and what it means. But yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen Darren Aronofsky or any of these films, which I would say are probably his most underrated films, I think most people have seen Mother, Requiem for a Dream, and Black Swan. I would say probably his more famous ones. So if you haven't seen The Wrestler or The Fountain, I highly suggest it, because they are very much actively a viewer experience. So I would say that if you see this and you think, oh, I got a totally different perspective on both these films, I think that's perfectly fine, and almost, I think, what the filmmaker was going for. But thank you. I've been Paul Shewhart.